him and not us. Welcome to the Dynasty Pulse right here on the Undroppables Network on YouTube's and we're on Twitter. We're going live today for the season, this season 2024. We have been recording the show and dropping it on Fridays. We figured that since it's championship week, we're going to get a little bit more interplay from the people asking questions in the chat because they've got roster decisions to make for these championship weeks. We will also give you our standard content in Dynasty Leagues about whose stock is up, whose stock is down, what are we looking for 2025, things like that. But, I mean, it's week 17, baby. This is championship week. This is the money week. This is when fortunes are won and lost. This is when your bragging rights are maintained. This is when you show everybody in your world. You don't tell them you watch us, but you win. This is it. So get your starts and sits questions into the chat. We will address those. We'll also take Dynasty questions and all that stuff. I'm Biggs, by the way. Greinberg is down there. We got Coach Retzlaff in the building, and Chev down in the corner. Cameras are hard, folks. He's a legendary ball knower and co-host of the Two Guys One Pod Show. Let's get this thing started, shall we?
Let's do it, guys. Oh, wait.
Oh, it's not that kind of show? All right.
I don't know. Schulte will be here at some point. I'm sure he's going to jump on sooner than later. And he's
in the back, rifling through drawers.
Yeah. We are got let's get the show
Chat's
started.
Going already.
Yeah, let's talk about our story number one before we get into some chat here. The Vikings playoff push continues. Sam Darnold has emerged as a key player in the team's success, throwing clutch game-winning drives and posting solid numbers, making his future with the team a hot topic. The Vikings have yet to discuss a long-term deal with Darnold, and with 7 teams likely in the market for a new quarterback, his bargaining power is growing. Despite Minnesota's future quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, being in the fold after being drafted with the 10th overall pick, Darnold's strong performance, especially in high-pressure moments, has raised some questions about his value. For fantasy football, the situation has major implications. Darnold's continued success could mean a more stable, fantasy-friendly quarterback situation for Minnesota, which could benefit Justin Jefferson for the rest of his offensive weapons, especially if Darnold remains a starter. For dynasty managers, though, Darnold's strong play raises some interesting questions. Is he a buy low candidate for a team looking for a veteran quarterback in a rapidly developing offense? So, Jeremiah, given Sam Darnold's recent performance, would you consider him a buy low candidate for a contending dynasty team, or do you think his value is too volatile as the Vikings may turn their reins over to JJ next season?
Great question. Yes, easily. However, the value is in the eye of the beholder. For a trade to happen, the liquidity problem that will occur in dynasty leagues is the crossing point between managers who picked up Sam Darnold for next to nothing, juxtaposed with the fantasy manager who wants to cash out. Brand name damage has been done over the years. You spoke to the volatility, Mike. From a slow career start, we'll have buyers try and buy low for fear of Darnold turning into a pumpkin again. But to me, that is the biggest tell for Sam Darnold managers, to try and get your optimal asking price. There will be people lurking, trying to buy. Keep Trade Cut shows a 25 mid-first rookie higher than Sam Darnold by about 3,500 points. Scale it back a little. A late 25 first is a little higher than Sam Darnold still by 2,700 points. The problem is the Sam Darnold manager will want some form of a first-round pick. The sharp move, even if KTC shows a late 25 first as being more valuable, is to try and strike now with a late 25 first and see if the Darnold manager bites. From entry point for Sam Darnold managers, getting a late 25 first is a 10-bagger. You may not be selling at the top, but in Wall Street and in stocks, if you sell at a profit, it is never a loss. With that said, they don't ring the bell at the top. Try and buy before Darnold locks up a contract. If the Vikings turn around and sign Darnold to a 2-3 year deal, you're happy you bought or held. Now factor in some teams that we'll end up discussing: the Browns, Giants, Raiders, Cowboys, Jets. Any of those teams gives Darnold a $100 million plus contract, and the starting price for a trade in Dynasty will be that 25 late first round pick that you gave up in this hypothetical if you're buying now when there's some uncertainty. This is the Dynasty Pulse. We have a window prior to free agency to capitalize and buy Sam Darnold. We also have a window to sell. So I think there are two ways to play it overall. Let's say you have Sam Darnold. You wait until Darnold signs with the team next year, and then you sell for a first plus. Or you buy Sam Darnold now, not having him, for a 25 late first. If you can't get that to work or find like for like players, you back out and you miss out. It is okay to have discipline on both sides. Now, on keep, trade, cut, an even trade and Superflex that shows, I'm going to give you a scenario, Biggs, and tell me what would you prefer. We'll go around the room, right? It's a win now team. Biggs, who do you prefer in Dynasty? Sam Darnold or Dak Prescott?
Sam Darnold.
Beautiful, beautiful. So there's some pulse there. Look how highly Dak Prescott was going at the 2-3 turn in a Superflex startup just last offseason. Any more reason, any elaboration you want on that? Like why?
Well, I'm a huge Dak fan.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Browns. It's not going to be the Browns. They just restructured Deshaun Watson today, which for some reason they're going to keep rolling with him. Hopefully they put in a contract out so that it's not all guaranteed money anymore. They did not put. Okay, the Browns are.
It's 100. I think it's like $165 million over the next 2 seasons, fully guaranteed.
That's crazy. When we first started talking about this, when I first saw the question, when you first started talking, the thought in my brain was I would hold out on trying to buy Darnold until the Raiders sign him. If the Raiders sign him, his value is going to drop simply because of the team that he's associated with. But what I think is going to happen is the Vikings are going to go ahead and re-sign him. They're going to offer him a contract. He's absolutely played himself onto the team, and I love his upside with the Vikings. Like you said, go buy him now before that happens. I love Dak Prescott. He was coming off a season in 2023 where he was like quarterback 4 or 5, something like that, and was just like his ADP was like in the teens. And he has had that potential. He dealt with some issues, dealt with some injuries. The Cowboys were pretty terrible, but he is older, and I do like the fact that Darnold has emerged. The other thing, and there's an underlying question about J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy is somebody that I absolutely loved coming into the draft. He was a third-year starter, so he was an early declare. He had potential. I watched a bunch of combine stuff. I saw Brett Coleman over at Bootleg Football do a thing where he was talking about watching Sam Darnold or watching J.J. McCarthy at the combine. There was a lot of scuttlebutt on the Twitter machine about J.J. McCarthy at the combine not completing some passes on the wide receiver drills. And what Brett Coleman explained was that the coaches were right there with the media, and J.J. McCarthy was throwing. And every time the coaches told J.J. McCarthy to put the ball in a spot, he put the ball in that spot. Whether or not the receivers got there or he had rapport with the receivers was not the issue. He was doing exactly what the coaches said. He had the second strongest arm in the whole quarterback class, and he drops absolute dimes. So the underlying question is, what do we do with J.J. McCarthy, especially if Sam Darnold resigns? I say, whatever you're doing with Sam Darnold, you want to align him with J.J. McCarthy, just like the Vikings may do in the offseason. Grab McCarthy now while his value is down to pair with your Sam Darnold. Maybe make true trades if you have to, but you want both of those guys on your team, because going into 2025, they will both be aligned with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson. maybe Aaron Jones to a certain extent. They'll probably draft a running back at some point, but it's going to be a high-powered offense for quite a few years. And whether it's Darnold or McCarthy out of the gate next year, or it's Darnold and then he gets hurt possibly, and McCarthy steps in to like earn his stripes. Both of those guys are in a great situation, and if their value is suppressed right now, go buy both of them.
Man, in Billy Madison, where he's like, man, I'm glad I called that guy. I'm glad I asked you that question, Big. Now, speaking of sharp knives, we got a sharp guy, Greinberg, all right? Question for you, Mike. Now, Mike, don't be injecting your Chiefs bias now, all right? I'm trusting you here. We're going to give this to you. A win now team, Sam Darnold or Xavier Worthy?
Oh, I'm taking Sam Darnold. Anytime a quarterback's involved here in a super flex kind of league, I'm leaning towards the quarterback. For me right now, I love Sam Darnold's situation if he stays with the Vikings. If he is going anywhere else, I am going to sell him for his value right now because I think this is more accustomed to having Justin Jefferson and Coach O'Connell in that system. Those two pieces are, the formula. And it doesn't matter what quarterback, as long as they're competent, is going to be able to thrive in that system. They have, arguably the best receiver in the league and one of the best coaches to develop quarterbacks. So I think this success for Sam Darnold is more accustomed to the people that are, serving him up. Rather than his actual talent. I think, he's done well, and I think he goes elsewhere. I don't think he thrives just like he did in New York or just like he did in Carolina. He never had that opportunity to do well because he just wasn't, equipped with it. So any situation he goes isn't going to be even close to the situation he has in Minnesota. So if he goes elsewhere, I'm going to be, trying to sell him out for a better situation. So, yeah, but as far as that question goes, definitely I'm going Sam Darnold over Xavier Worthy.
Hey, very nice. Thank you, Mike. And then, Chev, let's go to you. You're in a rebuilding situation, and granted, these are what came up even in Keep Trade Cut. Your wide receiver and your QB room are even in this rebuild, right? Chev, do you go Sam Darnold or Josh Down?
Easily Sam Darnold.
Okay, beautiful.
Sorry, I apologize. Let's throw it back a little bit to you remember when you asked Mike that question? Well, one of the things that you asked was a quarterback versus a wide receiver, and quarterbacks always carry more value in Superflex Dynasty than wide receivers do. So, and they hold their value longer. So wherever Sam Darnold has wound up or will wind up, it's kind of hard to measure him against wide receivers, especially when they're not top 5 guys.
All right, last one, Schultze. You're between the 3rd and 6th best team in the league. You want to push to get into the upper tier, into the top 3. You go Sam Darnold or Tyreek Hill?
Oh, I'm still taking Sam Darnold here. Simply because Tyreek has not been, the Tyreek we love and know.
So there you have it, a price across the board. There's different entry points that Sam Darnold, people who have had him, are feasting. There's a 10-bagger that's out there for you right now, and there's opportunity in the event he stays with the Vikings. His price is only going to go up, it sounds like. So that's my read on that. So very nice.
Awesome, guys. That's great. Chev, do you have anything to add about the Sam Darnold situation before we move on to the MVP race?
I would like to add the fact that I understand that the Vikings are his optimal situation. If he were to get paired with a Ben Johnson, say Ben Johnson goes to the Raiders, takes that head coaching job, or
the vapors.
Yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome for that daydream.
Not gonna happen.
I know. If he gets paired with a certain few play callers in the league, if somehow or another some team decides to trade Brock Purdy for a ton of capital, and then you get Sam Darnold for a 2-year, $120 million deal or whatever the going rate at the top of the market's going to be when he's on the market, I would 100% love to see him with a Kyle Shanahan, with a Ben Johnson, with somebody if he's with a brilliant play caller, and someone that understands quarterback play, I would hold Sam Darnold. But it's only like you're trying to thread the eye of the needle here if he's leaving the optimal situation and game environment in Minnesota. Yeah. So there's a few scenarios where his value could stay the same or go up leaving, but those are very few and far between.
Okay, so out of those teams, there's about 7. I'm going to say that are probably in the mix here. So the Browns, are you in on Sam Darnold with the Browns?
The Browns can't do it. They don't have. They're literally $50 million over the cap now.
And then after the Deshaun Watson signing today, the restructuring.
I'll say they just restructured.
Yeah. So
they're restructuring to try to get under the cap, like whatever the projected cap is. Like they're $50 million over the projected cap for 2025. So the Browns are out.
What about the Giants?
Would depend on who the play caller is that goes there.
Okay, and then there's the Raiders, the Cowboys, the Jets.
Why is the Cowboys a thing? They just signed Dak. Dak's got $240 million coming his way.
There you go. So the Cowboys are nowhere near that. So there's very few teams that are in the market. Then when you think about it,
Titans.
The Titans could be there.
I really think it's going to be the Vikings. What you find is that when a guy has entered a situation and found success, he's going to want to do everything that he can to stay there. On top of the fact that the Vikings have found their playoff quarterback, moving on from Cousins, who has a lot of years under Cousins, and he has potential to take this team to the playoffs moving forward over the next 3 to 7 years. So I think that Minnesota does everything they can to sign him. But it does bring up another question about Sam Darnold and his level of play. We talk about Kevin O'Connell, but we've seen situations where guys like Baker Mayfield, once they get it, they can sustain it regardless of their situation, regardless of who their offensive coordinator is. Has not Sam Darnold played himself into a spot where it doesn't matter where he goes? Say he goes to the Raiders and they retain Scott Turner. Now he's looking at Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, maybe a first-round wide receiver draft pick, a gelling offensive line, and a new running back. And they have a ton of cap to spend in the offseason. He sustains his level. But we have to look at what the narrative is, and the Raiders are so bad that his value goes down if he signs with the Raiders, even if his level of play is maintained. I think his level of play maintains regardless of where he goes.
I would say that the caveat is, how does he look in these playoff games? Because I did not think that the Buccaneers were going to give Baker the bag until I watched him in the playoffs, and I watched him operate at a high level consistently. If Sam Darnold does what he did against the Jags, he's going to be somewhere else next year. They're not giving him
the bag. That's the problem.
If he performs, if he wins a playoff game, then they're going to give him 2 years, $100 million or whatever it takes to keep that Super Bowl window open to try to marry him up with Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson. But if he just looks like crap and they're having to manage around what he can't do in a playoff game, he's going somewhere else. Because Kevin O'Connell can just do this exact same thing for about $30 to $40 million less a year with JJ McCarthy.
And I know they have that option. So I don't see Minnesota paying a bag for Sam Darnold unless he can get them to the NFC Championship game. I think they need to win 2 games for him to get that bag, knowing, their system, having Justin Jefferson in there. I just can't see them doing that with the blueprint they've presented, and, with Kevin O'Connell's pedigree. I just think that, he knows his quarterback situation, and they drafted JJ for a reason. I could see a bridge deal happening, but it won't be an astronomical amount of money. And if Sam Darnold goes out and wins one playoff game and the Vikings don't want to pay up, there's going to be a team that's going to pay up for him. And
I think the JJ McCarthy injuries kind of changed that calculus a little bit. If JJ McCarthy had been healthy and able to operate with practice squad reps and with second team reps and stuff throughout the season, I think that would kind of give the franchise a better idea of what they have going forward. I think they need to run it back with Sam Darnold just to give JJ McCarthy some time to develop. The other wild card in this situation is the New Orleans Saints. Depending on what Spot Track shows with Derek Carr's contract, there is a good chance that that the New Orleans Saints offensive coordinator, who did work with Sam Darnold for a full year last year in San Francisco, may have an inside track on what he could expect from Sam Darnold, and the fact that Sam Darnold could possibly acclimate to that offensive system in New Orleans. Look for that as kind of
that's another scenario
situation too.
That's another scenario where he could 100% come in and thrive, because I mean, if that offensive line, like Derek Carr looked like he was playing MVP ball when the offensive line was healthy. So yeah, he could completely come in and fit in New Orleans as well. But they're another team that's absolutely
Can they money launder that? Can they make that happen?
Well,
they're paying beignets like they did Zion Williamson.
And one note on Sam Darnold, part of what Chev said, there's vividness bias, because if Sam Darnold just tanks and just takes a fat dump in the playoffs, it's going to affect his market. But it's divergently an opportunity huge, because vividness bias, if Sam Darnold lights it up, let's say they go 2 rounds and he kind of does like this Jordan Love thing where he plays well, but hey, they get a tough break at the end. Your vividness bias is going to see that, and that's going to be the more likelihood that the Vikings will end up wanting to keep Sam Darnold, because the arrow would still be pointing up.
Brock Purdy was in a similar situation, lit up the Cowboys and then lost to the Eagles because he got hurt. And we have the analytics on Brock Purdy, and his per snap performance is elite level, but his value in Dynasty doesn't reflect that. He's a lower tier than what his potential is. So
yeah,
Darnold could wind up in the same situation.
I would love to see Darnold stay with the Vikings for a lot of reasons, and for the story there. And I'm just a little less hopeful that it'll happen because of the money constraints. But let's do it. Let's hope that.
Well, I hope he's the Las Vegas Raiders, so we don't waste a first round pick.
There you go. Yeah. All right, let's move on, guys. Let's get into the MVP race, and it's heating up. Lamar Jackson has made a compelling push for his 3rd MVP award, edging closer to Josh Allen. Lamar looked the part this week, and Josh Allen's coming into a game that, the Bills want to win, but don't necessarily need to win. And what are your guys' initial thoughts on this race? Who's been the more valuable component to their team as far as fantasy football goes? Biggs, I'm going to start with you. With Lamar Jackson's improved passing, his dual threat ability, does he now surpass Josh Allen as the top dynasty quarterback, or is Allen's potential still the safer bet and long-term success?
That's a tough one. I still think that I would lean towards the scoring of Josh Allen. When we're talking about the MVP race in the NFL, you kind of have to lean towards Lamar Jackson. But in fantasy, I still think I give the edge to Josh Allen.
Yeah, I'm kind of on that same boat. You saw those back-to-back games from Josh Allen. He scored 100 fantasy points in 2 weeks. Just shows his reliance. He's got that upside as far as the goal line work goes. I think that's where the kind of the deciding factor is for me. The goal line work he gets and the upside is with the touchdowns there. I think is just second to none. Is there anybody on the Lamar side of the train here in this conversation? There you go, Chev. Let's hear from you, man.
Yep.
All right. I'm going to answer both parts of the question. In fantasy, there's a safety with Josh Allen. I mean, he's quite literally doing what only Aaron Rodgers in his prime had done from a fantasy perspective, finishing as quarterback 1 or quarterback 2 for like 4 or 5 straight years. I think last year, is he like QB4 this year? Or has he climbed to like QB2 now?
2.
Okay. So a few weeks ago when I looked, he was quarterback, he was QB4, and that was going to be his worst finish. I think that the fact that he's their goal line back, the fact that you can pretty much pencil him in for 4,000 yards rushing, another 700, and then 10 touchdowns on the ground to go along with 25 to 26 passing touchdowns as a floor. If they go get him another elite weapon, he's by far and away the quarterback one. The only reason that it's even a question is because there is no elite weapon. Dalton Kincaid, a.k.a. Dalton Schultz Jr., has not shown up in a way that we thought that he would. And so Josh is just kind of doing the whole Madden Greg Jennings thing and putting the team on his back right now. So with that being said, sorry, got a random phone call. With that being said, I would have to go with Josh as a safe play. But what we're about to witness from Lamar is a 4,000 passing yard, 1,000 rushing yard, 40 touchdown with 5 interceptions. So the ceiling for Lamar is there. And this is with him going cruise control in like 4 or 5 games. If he ever has to press, you could be looking at a 55 to 5,800 yard season where he throws for 4,300 yards and rushes for 1,200 yards. Like, the ceiling is with Lamar, but the safety is with Josh. And that's what you kind of have to go with from a dynasty perspective. I mean, like I said, he's 140 yards away from rushing for 1,000. He's going to throw for over 4,000 yards, and he's already accounted for 40 touchdowns. So, like, I mean, he needs 1 rushing touchdown to hit 5 rushing touchdowns.
I thought you were about to say you were now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
But, oh, yeah. And then, yeah, Lamar's the MVP. Let's stop this nonsense. Lamar is the MVP.
Jared Goff might have something to say about that.
I mean, bet Jared Goff if you just want to light $100 on fire. 100 to win, $850, I think it is now. But
I'm just saying he needs to be in the conversation.
He does need to be in the conversation. That is a valid point.
Thank you.
If there were no guys named Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, that would be a totally awesome thing to do.
Or Brock Bowers.
But here's the deal. Lamar Jackson is this season the 4th highest QB, like the 4th highest passer rating of all time. Okay. He's going to lead the league in passing touchdowns, passing yards, and rushing yards. Josh Allen is just kind of leading what we thought was going to be a crappy team to the playoffs. Like, what's the argument for Josh Allen? And Lamar beat Josh Allen head-to-head by 3 touchdowns. So, like, I will open the floor up to anybody who wants to make the MVP argument for Josh Allen.
Well, I'm just going to talk more about Lamar, baby. Let's just keep talking dirty about Lamar Jackson. That all right?
That makes me real excited. Makes me super excited.
Gets the blood flowing, right? Lamar Jackson plus 180. Josh Allen minus 250 for the odds. So the odds right now are favoring Josh Allen, but they've truncated, gotten closer. Let's just talk about the New England Patriots. Just missed a golden opportunity to draft Lamar Jackson, if only for the fact that somebody at home from New England can just be like, come on, Lamar. Like you just missed out on years of that. Like, just terrible.
Lamar.
Lamar.
So glad we moved on Tom Brady for Lamar.
We got to go see Lamar.
Man. You guys messed up. So let's spit some facts here. Rushing yards, number 1, 765. Rush yards per game, 51 for Lamar. Number 1 overall. Then you're looking at fantasy points per drop back. He's number 1. Lamar, 25.5 fantasy points per game is number 1. Best ball points added, number 2. Number 1 in adjusted yards per attempt. All this stuff is from Player Profiler. All right,
hang on.
Might know that.
Where does Jared Goff rank in rushing yards?
I don't have it in front of me.
There are 1,800 players in the NFL. I'm going to comfortably say around
1,900.
Yeah. He's got more rushing yards than approximately probably 200 players in the NFL.
I think he's got more rushing yards than Spencer Rattler. Jared Goff is plus 2,500 for MVP. For those of you who like to light your money on fire in a rapid manner.
Jared, hey, so real quick, we don't have to spend a bunch. I didn't mean to derail us here, But what scenario can Jared Goff win the MVP this year? What does he have to do over these next 2 weeks? Like throw like 12 touchdowns?
Yes, I think so.
Like, would that do it though?
No.
Probably not.
So, that would put him at like 40. That would put him at like 45 touchdowns, and Lamar's going to have around 45 touchdowns to go with 1,000 yards rushing. So
he has 59 yards rushing and no touchdowns, an average carry of 1.84 yards. So,
attaboy.
It's pretty cut and dried to me.
All right. So let's talk.
Average human male per carry.
So what quarterback is going to win the Super Bowl this year?
Jared Goff.
I mean, honestly, I would before the Detroit Lions lost to Liam McNeil and Carlton Davis broke his jaw, and then they lost all their other linebackers besides Jack Campbell. I 100% wanted to say the Detroit Lions. I just don't know if they have any stopping power whatsoever right now.
Yeah,
they're getting floored, man, on defense, and
they've turned into the Carolina Panthers on defense, man. They don't have anybody left.
I would say, don't they have like 13 defensive players on IR or something?
They have
absolutely nuts.
Three guys from their starting 11, like where their season started with. They have 3 guys: Jack Campbell, Brian Branch, and I want to say maybe no, not Khalil Dorsey. The other guy. What's the other guy?
Terry Arnold.
He wasn't a starter though.
He wasn't a starter. He's playing snaps now, but one of the other corners, because even Khalil Dorsey like broke his leg in like devastating fashion. So I can't remember who the other guy is, but yeah, Brian Branch and Jack Campbell are two of the only guys I can think of off the top of my head that are still playing American tackle football for the Detroit Lions and not currently on IR.
You kind of have to lean Patrick Mahomes until further notice.
I know that's the not sexy thing to do, though.
I just hope I get to see Jared in New Orleans.
It's Mahomes until it's not at this point.
Well, I just think they played their best game of the year. Like they actually showed what they needed to do in a game. Like they played
got 29 points.
Exactly.
Woo!
They almost scored 30 again.
They, it's impressive.
I just want to be able to ask Jared Goff on media day, how do you feel about being the second best player born in Novato, California?
Because you are the best player that was born in Novato, California. I knew that for sure. You were opening up those holes for those running backs bigger than anybody out there.
I was a much better blocker than Jared Goff was.
There you have it. Okay.
Imagine if Biggs got to block for Lan Larison.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so one of my favorite parts about going to the Football Hall of Fame in Canton is that they have these like player cutout things where you can like put your limbs in to like these molds of other players. And so like I went to the offensive line and I was like, how do human people get their arms so big? But then I went up to this one and it was like from the waist down and I slid into it and it was like perfect fit for like waist, butt, thigh, calf, foot, and took a step back and it was Jerome Bettis.
Hell yeah.
Call me the short bus.
The short bus.
We're going to call you the caravan.
I love it. All right, guys. Enough about the news. Let's talk about our fun segment here, and that's our stock up, stock down. And Schulte, you've been quiet, so let's start with you, my man.
Hello. I'm going to talk about some Xavier Worthy for you, Mike. And I think stock up here, a couple of reasons. Last 3 weeks, the snap share is up to 80% higher. The targets have been 11, 11, and 9 the last 3 weeks. The yardage has not been like the greatest, but like this is a eye test usage thing for me. And they're figuring this guy out, man. I know Rashee Rice is going to come back next season and like they're going to compete with each other, right? But the two of those guys are also going to complement each other. And we're also watching Travis Kelce on the decline. We're at the point where I think we're going to watch him play for 2 more years probably. But I think what we saw this weekend was like his ceiling game now. Like 8 for 82 and a touchdown. I think he had something in that ballpark. Like, so that's probably his ceiling. So I don't think we need to factor him in, like we were this past offseason. I factored him pretty strongly this offseason and was wrong. But so I think it's finally time to pull that one back a little bit, which leaves room for both of these receivers. I just love the usage. I love that he's got how many touchdowns? 6 touchdowns. They're figuring him out in the red zone. They're using him in the red zone.
He's got 10.
10? Oh, yeah. What was I was looking at
I think he has 4
just receiving. Yeah, I was just looking at receiving. I forgot. Well, yeah, the usage, targets, snap shares are all climbing up in a situation that's just going to keep getting better for him, or it's not going to get worse at least.
Hell yeah.
He will be on every best ball roster I have next year.
Oh, dude. So to support your point, this could be the start of something really special that could lead Patrick Mahomes back to being an elite fantasy option. This is almost exactly like Tyreek Hill was used his rookie year. Like, I'm not saying that he's Tyreek Hill. I'm saying this is exactly how they used Tyreek Hill his rookie year. And like that role blossomed and grew. And they were trying to do this with him down the field. It just so happens that he has the worst spatial awareness of any human being on the planet.
Well, yeah. If you look at the 2 most successful pass catchers in Mahomes' career, they have been Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, the 2 guys who created the best chemistry and relationship with Patrick Mahomes, where they were 2 minds blended as one. And if Xavier Worthy can get to that level where he knows where Mahomes is going to look for him, and Mahomes knows exactly where Worthy is going to be on any play that breaks down, sky's the limit.
Yeah, I think that yeah. Go ahead, guys. I get real excited about this because I was like,
a Raider fan just said that.
I'm not so optimistic about it, and that's coming from somebody that loves the Chiefs, and I just don't ever see them ever having another Tyreek Hill. I don't think they want to go that route. I think they want to have numerous weapons that if they get an injury, they have a plug-and-play guy. They don't want to rely on one sole beneficiary. I think that Xavier Worthy is going to have his role. But Rashee Rice, to me, is their guy. He showed, getting those design, plays off the line. He was just a dynasty top 12 guy headed in, after his start to this season. I just think he would have been the guy moving forward. He's going to take some pressure off the Kelce situation. But like Schulte said, Kelce is going to be here for another 2 years. And, he's not going to have that prolific role, but he's going to have, he's going to be there when they need him, and they're going to rest him. And I just see them spreading the ball out. Biggs was the one that got me on to never putting all my eggs into one basket with the Chiefs. And I'm never going to do that again, based off of what I see them spraying the ball around. And I don't think they want to have a guy that's their superstar. They want to have numerous guys that could get there. And Xavier Worthy's a flash in the pan. He's a great guy. And I think he's a big part of their future, but I don't see him being the Tyreek Hill that everybody hopes.
He's a great guy. What, do you know him?
Oh, yeah? Where's Rashee Rice been the last 6 weeks? Just disappeared. It's been the Xavier Worthy.
He's practicing for F1.
He's going to turn into Tyreek Hill. Like, nobody expected former running back return specialist to turn into one of the best receivers of a generation.
Yes.
What I am saying is that role is still there in the offense for him to be able, like the gadget guy that can go 80 because he's faster than everybody. And they're already they've been manufacturing touches for him. That's going to be there next year with Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce operating and controlling the middle of the field. And you having to roll a safety down into the box or into coverage to make sure that Travis Kelce or Rashee Rice aren't wide open. And that leaves you one-on-one with a guy who runs a 4-2-1. So those opportunities are already there. They're just not connecting on them. And if if Xavier Worthy takes a small step forward, you're looking at another probably 1,100-yard season and 6 or 7 touchdowns for a guy that you right now probably could get for a late first-round pick or like an early second-round pick, depending on what situation the other owner is in. So I love the fact that's Schultze's stock up, and I think that the ceiling with a quarterback as prolific as we've seen be prolific as Patrick Mahomes is something that we need to be a little bit more overstated about.
Yeah.
I just think that it changes when you're talking about, if you're talking about matchups in redraft, or you're talking about underdog best ball drafts.
Better in best ball, 1,000%. I agree with you.
That changes things. As long as Matthew Nagy is the Chiefs offensive coordinator, they're going to be changing up the game plan. You have two different types of teams in the NFL. You have teams that are kind of locked into a certain style of offense because of their personnel. And then you have teams that can change it up week by week. And that's exactly the blueprint of what we saw the Patriots do over the course of their dynasty. Was they went into every week with a totally different game plan. So a defense did not know what to focus on, because as soon as you start focusing on one guy, they're going to somebody else. And I think that's what we see with the Chiefs just about every week, is that it's a different player every week because the defense isn't expecting it. And Andy Reid's teams, and especially Matthew Nagy, know how to scheme it up and come out with the W. And it's frustrating as hell, but I tend to stay away from what's happening with the Chiefs on offense and fantasy. I mean, look at their wide receiver core right now. Hollywood Brown came back. They got DeAndre Hopkins, and it was the Xavier Worthy show. Who expected that? This week, everybody's going to be like, well, Xavier Worthy had a huge week. Suddenly, DeAndre Hopkins has a 2-touchdown game. I mean, it's just like, what do you do? They did the same thing with Marquez Valdez-Scantling. They did the same thing with Juju Smith-Schuster. Those guys spike throughout the season, and it's frustrating to try and like put your finger on one guy who's going to be it, and it's not even Kelsey anymore.
That's part of their copium for losing Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice was going to go 110 for 1,400 yards this year. Yeah. Like that cost me like 8 Best Ball Mania teams. but I mean, I didn't mean to derail us and spend that much time there. But I really loved your stock up, Schultz.
Quick chat. Chev and I only have 40 more minutes until our show on our player profiler. So.
Well, let's just put into this like how great the future is for the Kansas City Chiefs, and they could go
offense. On
five, Pete. Let's get it in.
Jesus Christ!
Man,
I think ultimately for Worthy, for me, it just comes down to like they did everything with him this year, and he's put up these numbers with them trying to wing it with him. And we're watching them figure it out. So I just don't see a world where he's going to regress.
All right, Coach. Which future Raiders wide receiver is your stock up?
You talking to me about a Raiders wide receiver stock up?
Future.
I see. Oh man, you sly devil, you man. I was like, what are we talking about? Hey, T. Higgins is about to get paid. Whether it's Joe Burrow or Drake May, sign me up. Or apparently, with what Biggs is saying, the Raiders.
Sam Darnold.
Higgins, you love that, right? Especially over Dak Prescott.
Hey,
Higgins,
I called that on a podcast last summer. Next Raiders quarterback, Sam Darnold.
It's coming. T. Higgins is 8th in fantasy points per game, 17.3. 7th in red zone targets from DD Fantasy Football. The Trinity Tracker. Higgins has a 7.44 score, which is high-end wide receiver 1 territory. Scores above 6 are good, even higher, better. Jamar Chase, for reference, has a 7.54 Trinity score, and this measures wide receiver and tight end capabilities. Higgins, in just 10 games played, has 35% air yard share, 26% target share, 2.97 yards after the catch per reception, and 2.03 yards per route run. Dynasty Daddy has a trade volume tool. 3 to 4 weeks ago, 370 trades for liquidity. 2 to 3 weeks, it went down to 290. And then 2 weeks ago to 92. And then in the last week, 76. So we've gone from almost 400 down to 76. As it is becoming clear, T. Higgins will be in an optimal spot in 2025. This lack of liquidity in the trade market just goes to show that Higgins managers want a high buyout, and potential buyers wish they had yesterday's price. Anybody who watches The Wire knows that. All right, the price of the brick has gone up, and that price is gone, yesterday's price. As they say, yes, love The Wire. Shout out to The Wire. People who don't know, I feel sorry for you. So exercise for the room via KTC. It's 2025 and you're a win now team. Let's go over to our Chiefs fan, Mr. Greinberg, T. Higgins or Rashee Rice.
Rashee Rice. Yeah.
Just
pretty
clear
easily.
top.
Yeah, I
Okay.
just saw what Rashee did. I do like T. Higgins. I just think the younger player with, the upside connected to a quarterback like Mahomes. I like that upside. Even with them spraying the ball around, they love Rashee Rice there in Kansas City, and I see him having a bright future. So yeah, I like Rashee in this situation. That's a tough question though.
All right, Chev, I picked you on purpose. T. Higgins and this is pre T. Higgins destination being known. Let's say it's kind of
George Pickens.
Purgatory. Dude, you knew what I was doing. It's
I knew exactly what, and when you said I did this on purpose, I was like, yes. Yeah, no, I was listening to some other content the other day, and they asked this question, and everybody else said T. Higgins. No, it honestly, it probably will be, unless Pittsburgh can get their quarterback situation figured out, it should be T. Higgins.
They just signed Russell Wilson. It's been confirmed.
Yeah, they just extended him. They just extended Russ.
For how long?
Don't you pay attention to the news desk writer?
Yeah, I've been just on a podcast for the last 2 hours.
So have we.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh wants to stop contract extension. It's forever.
Yeah.
Well then George Pickens to the moon for forever. Yeah.
You know what?
For George Pickens.
That contract is unlimited.
Yeah.
Hey. All right, I'm going to play this one too, Coach. Treylon Burks.
Land Larson.
Can I write in on the ballot? I would like to nominate Jeremiah Smith.
So my only concern with T. Higgins, and before you ask me the question or Schultz or whatever, my only concern with T. Higgins is ability to stay on the field. And I sold off T. Higgins a couple seasons ago and haven't regretted it at all. You pointed out his fantasy points per game. Unfortunately, that is in the games that he's actually able to play. And so while I say tongue-in-cheek that he's a future Raiders wide receiver because they have a ton of money and they can go out and sign like the top of the positions that they're looking for, I don't necessarily want him on the Raiders because I want a player who's going to be able to play 17 games in the season. And T. Higgins has to do that to convince me that he can. I cannot enter a season thinking that he is actually going to do that until he does.
So would you, and now for you, Biggs, would you go T. Higgins or a 2025 rookie mid-first round pick?
Oh, I'd take them first.
Okay.
Especially in this climate, in this economy. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, what's mid-first to you? Because there's
Luther Burden. Give me Luther Burden every day.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
What if he's with Drake May now? It's Higgins with May. Does that change it?
Never Luther Burden.
I don't think it does because I feel like you have a known quantity in Higgins, and part of that is he has a hard time staying staying on the field because of soft tissue injuries. It's conditioning stuff. It's maintenance stuff. It's like he's not Terrell Owens. He's not out there like working his body into shape You see guys who are able to play with injuries like that, and they don't suffer major joint injuries. He hasn't really suffered. He had a hip issue, but it's hamstrings, it's calf strains, it's things like that. A lot of that is maintenance. I watched the Julian Edelman podcast, not to brag, but he talks a lot about how hard it is as an NFL wide receiver it's a 365-day a year process to maintain the muscles, getting the massages, putting in the work, being conditioned in the proper way. And I tend to see a bias against players that suffer injuries like that, as they're not working hard enough. You know what I mean? I may be completely wrong on that, but that's just kind of my read on the situation. So it's hard for me to have faith in T. Higgins. So if I'm looking at it as stiffening up my roster with, a first round running back or a first round wide receiver, then I'm looking to go that way.
I would put if T. Higgins were in this class, there would be Ashton, there would be Amarion, and then
Tet.
T for me.
Tet.
And T would be ahead of Tet.
Yeah. Okay.
T would be ahead of Tet for me. Okay. We watched what T did to ACC DBs, and then we watched what Tet did to what's left of the Pac-12 DBs. I had to break this down to somebody else in a Discord. It's you would rather have Tet than George Pickens, who does this to NFL DBs, and you got one guy who's doing it to future State Farm salesman.
Oh, it's one of the things that I talked about in the offseason with my player profiler article, that I chose Ladd McConkey over Deontay Johnson. When rookie wide receivers come into the league, they are still physically children. They don't have a knowledge of NFL offenses or defenses, and so there's a learning curve that's there. They're playing against guys who have been in the league for 5 years, that are fully grown-ass men, that have man strength, adult strength, that they've been weightlifting for the last 15, 20 years. They have the knowledge of leverage. They have the knowledge of schemes. That's what rookie wide receivers are coming up against. So, yeah, if you start looking at stuff like that, it's easy to take the side of the veteran. Then you look at what Malik Neighbors has done. You look at what Brian Thomas Jr. has done. You look at what Ladd has done as rookies. They've come out and they're playing against those guys who are brainier, bigger, stronger, actual men, and they're still playing at an elite level. So I can see a world in which Tet does that pretty quickly. You know what I'm saying?
I just think
and he doesn't have the injury history.
I think that T with 150 targets is prime Brandon Marshall. That's where I fall, and I can't be convinced.
Yes, I'm not arguing that part of it. Coach pointed out his fantasy points per game. If he plays 17 games and he's averaging 18 points a game over the course of 17 games, he's obviously in the conversation of a top 5 wide receiver. And with the new free agent contract, if he signs somewhere else other than Cincinnati, they're likely going to make him the wide receiver 1X. Is he going to be able to play 17 games? And I just have zero faith that at this point that he can do that. Whereas somebody else who
that's a valid thing, but I mean, that's the same thing that we did with Christian McCaffrey, and that blew up in our face.
Sure,
for 1 year. But
so many things blow up in my face, Chev. Come on.
Hey, I got one more.
Go ahead.
I got one more. All right, Biggs and Chev, I need you to close your ears. Schultz,
Brian Thomas Jr.
Irving or T. Higgins?
Oh, this is you're asking the wrong guy for this question. Give me Bucky all day.
All right. Hey, there we go. I just knew I would at least get objective. I mean, especially if I asked Greinberg, I would just get very objective analysis. I knew if I asked Biggs and Chev, it would just be tilted. Biggs and Chev would be in alignment on some T. Higgins. So I just wanted to check just to be sure.
I love it. Okay, guys, we got about you guys have to get off in about 10 minutes to get your show prep for the next one.
We're good.
Stir the pot, baby. Stir the pot.
My stock up is New England running back Ramondre Stevenson. Now, coming into the season, there was fantasy points, especially Ryan made a great point about regression to the mean in efficiency. And Ramondre had gone into a season where he was less than efficient and he was behind a terrible offensive line. So he was due to have a better season. Right now he's sitting at RB25, RB23, I want to say, in half PPR leagues. And this New England situation is only going to get better for him. Yes, his points per game has gone down a little bit since Drake May's first couple weeks, but he's still providing a very consistent floor of 10 to 15 points every week. And that's something that I can bank on. And he's only going to get better. Going from the finish that he had last year and his ADP in the drafts this year, him finishing at RB 24, somewhere in the RB2 conversation, his stock is definitely up from where it was last year. And if you had taken a chance and gone out and tried to bank on his due for positive regression to the mean in his efficiency, it's only going to increase over the next couple of years. Now, that said, he has a very short ownership window. So you're going to want to get in and get out as quickly as you can because he is going to be going up in age. He has had some injuries that are going to tend to pile up over the next 2 to 3 years. So I give him 1 to 2 seasons of top 24 type play. I'm not saying he's gonna, I'm just saying that's kind of what we can expect from him at this point. And that's better than what we had coming into the season in startups. So Ramondre Stevenson is my stock up for this week.
Sweet. Shout out to the 197 viewers live here. So ish. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. And now let's get to Chev's stock up.
Oh, I've been waiting on this. Oh, it's Big Rig Chig Okonkwo, baby. Yeah. I've been excited about this. I've been excited about him since we drafted him. I found out we were going to let Jonnu go to the Patriots. This was supposed to be like a 1-for-1 replacement, and I've been really frustrated with the way that he's been used throughout the course of the season, mostly because Will Levis is trash. But that, and it's hard to get players touches when drives abruptly in because your quarterback throws it to the other team instead of your team. But that's neither here nor there. Okonkwo is a 95th percentile athlete. I believe his 40 was in the 95th percentile for tight ends on per player profiler. And he is obviously, you saw the 70-yard touchdown against the Texans, and you've seen what he's done over the last 2 weeks. I tweeted out from the account earlier today, week 14, there's no way I could start Okonkwo. He doesn't even get targets. And then going into week 17, it's I think I have to start Okonkwo. He's got 21 targets over the last 2 weeks. And then Titans OC Nick Holes came out and said that he's done he said he's been dynamite with the ball in his hands. And that's the way that you use him. You let him catch and run. Be the easy button. Throw it to the guy that's 5 yards in front of your face. And really fast. Let him catch it. Let him run with it. And ever since they started doing that, he's been a tight end 1 the last couple of weeks. And I expect this to continue for the last 2 games of the season and going into 2025. Schulte, we talked about it last night. Devin Lloyd, Foye, Aluakon, and Joe Miller cannot cover anybody. And so that could lead us to another big Chig Okonkwo game. So Big Rig Chig is my stock up player.
Now you said that, but what I heard was he has become what we wanted Treylon Burks to be.
Yes. Unequivocally. And Treylon Burks on IR for the rest of the year. T's and P's. I hope that you find a wonderful home and build yourself a second career. Probably as a Pittsburgh Steeler.
In Las Vegas.
Oh, that would be the perfect marriage for you, Biggs, eh? Treylon Burks in Las Vegas. Wow.
Brock Bowers, Land Larison.
Oh my
Jacoby
goodness.
Myers,
Yeah.
T. Higgins, Sam Darnold.
Rashad White.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of the above. Yeah.
Rashad White getting
Van
traded for
Jefferson.
2025.
Give me all the Pokemans.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. I'm gonna do my stock up, and then we'll hit the road for the day because we're over about an hour, and I got two boys here that got to get on to the Today Show. So let's go. My stock up is Jerome Ford, and with Chubb out for the season and his contract in doubt, we're not sure what's going to happen in Cleveland. Chubb's potentially leaving this offseason, and Ford has got some high volume opportunity. He's got dynamic playmaking ability, and he's got 2 years left on his contract. He's averaged 8.4 yards per carry against the Chiefs. He had that long run, and he can catch passes in the backfield as well. I love his situation, and I'm not technically sold on his situation per se, but I like his opportunity. I don't think Cleveland has an opportunity to bring in any competition that's going to threat Jerome Ford in the future with contract wise. They may, bring in some veteran presence, but they don't have anybody to bring in as far as salary goes. So I like Jerome Ford here. I like his future and his opportunity, and he's shown that he's got that big playability. So I like his situation, and I think he could be a guy next year starting for the Browns as their RB1.
You know how many teams next year I'm going to have with Ramondre, Jerome Ford, and Chase Brown? All of them in the championship.
All of them. So many. What a great Chase Brown, Jerome Ford. I love it. I love that, Biggs.
Tyjae Spears.
Yeah, we got these young running backs coming off their second, third years. That's when you can really take advantage of these guys. And if you've punted the running back position this year, probably reaping some benefits at this stage of the game with the likes of the Chase Browns out there and your Bucky Irvings as well.
Yeah.
Twist the knife, baby.
I mean, look, I was never not a Bucky guy. I was just pro.
Oh, now we yeah, okay, all right.
Two things can be true.
Yes,
we'll take.
Bucky's my start of the week, man.
Oh, talk dirty, baby. Talk dirty.
Talk dirty. We love it.
I mean, honestly, seriously though, is there any world where Bucky doesn't rush for at least with the Rashad White fumble and with the way that what's his face, Liam Cohen and Bowles talked about it, this is like a Bucky legacy game opportunity, is it not?
I really hope not, because I'm facing him in a championship game.
I am too, and I've just been prepared to put on a brave face and my big boy pants and walk out. Just hope that my team's strong enough to overcome like a 35 or 40 ball from Bucky.
I do know a world though that he doesn't do that, and that's in my Madden 2024 Buccaneers season play. I'm just gonna not give him the ball at all, and it's just gonna be Rashad White.
Yeah,
there it is.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Just to spite all of you guys.
I just see Biggs playing take that, Bucky.
Yeah.
Hope you like watching that third down from the sideline, Bucky.
You're the gunner now, Bucky.
I love it, guys. I appreciate this crew. This is the new Dynasty Pulse that's going to kind of evolve into the new season here, and appreciate everybody from tuning in from the inception, from when it was just Biggs and I just over a year ago now, and now we've grown to 5. Our Wolf Pack is growing, and appreciate everybody from tuning in from week to week, and Biggs, like you always do, bring us home so graciously.
All right. Unless your name is Big Draft Energy or Jax Falcone, we hope you win.
Yeah, we love it, guys. We appreciate everybody from tuning in from the Undroppables Network, from the Fantasy Football Plus Network, which this show is going to air first thing tomorrow morning. But appreciate everybody from tuning in, and we'll be back next week for sure with another Dynasty Pulse. So peace out, everyone.
was a lot.